Welcome back to Bay's Sunday. So our last guest this morning is considered the web's hottest advice guru. She's the face behind the popular Dear Sugar advice column on the online magazine The Rumpus. Now, by channeling her life experiences, she has become the queen of advice on life, love, and just about everything in between. This month, a collection of her columns hit the shelves. Please welcome Cheryl Strayed, author of Tiny Beautiful Things, Advice on Love and Life from Dear Sugar. Thanks, Cheryl, for joining us.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
So, for a long time, you were anonymous.
That's right.
But now you are revealing yourself as Dear Sugar. Why'd you decide to do that?
Well, when I started the column, I thought that anonymity was an interesting thing to try out. I'd never written anything anonymously. But from the very beginning, I knew that I would one day reveal my identity and my name would be on those columns. And so for 2 years, it was really this sort of experiment. And it was an experiment in giving advice. I'd never done it before. And also an experiment in writing from behind a mask, really.
And was that mask part of the name Sugar? Like, why Sugar?
Yeah, well, I inherited that name. The writer Steve Almond originated the column on therumpus.net, which is based here in San Francisco. And so I just inherited that name. But strangely enough, it really fits me really well. And it fits, I guess, the tone of the column, which is challenging, but also ultimately incredibly sweet and tender. I really try to give my readers and those who ask advice unconditional love, unconditional positive regard.
I noticed that. And you just a lot of personal stories from your own life. Why did you decide to do that?
Well, as I said earlier, this whole thing was an experiment. I didn't know how I would give advice or why I was even qualified to do so. And what I realized as I started writing is that what I could offer is my skills as a storyteller. I'm a writer. I'm a fiction writer. I'm a memoirist. Stories have been so important to me in my life in terms of helping me figure out my own struggles and problems. They've been deeply consoling to me. And so what I thought is, I'm going to use storytelling to illuminate the human condition. And so I did that. And one of the vehicles I use is, as you said, my own life experiences. So I tell stories about my life, about my husband, about my kids, about my friends.
And you are so good at giving advice. I've got many questions after we're done here.
Thank you.
Are you the advice giver in all aspects of your life with your girlfriends, your family?
Right. Well, yeah, it's funny. It was finally all these years of just bossing people around and telling them what to do. It's like paid off. But really, I do think seriously that a lot of my friends do come to me for advice, but it's reciprocal. I go to them as well. And so I wouldn't say that I'm, use the word guru, and yet I do think that it's something I've deeply considered, when as a writer, that's what you do. You put people in situations and you try to see how they behave and what the outcomes are. And so it really lent itself to the art of giving advice.
Do you ever worry about getting it wrong?
I do. I do worry about that. I take it really seriously. I don't just sort of toss off an answer easily. The stakes are really high when somebody's asking you, should I leave my spouse?
Right.
Should I go to rehab? Should I? Those are really big questions I'm answering. One of the most powerful letters in Tiny Beautiful Things, a man, his son was killed by a drunk driver. And he said, how can I be human again? I'm so grief-stricken, how can I be human again? So those are really big questions. And so I spend a lot of time thinking about what to say.
I've got to say, as much as I was touched by your writing, I was touched by the quality of the letters themselves.
Yes.
Do you edit them? Are they
I don't.
just as you take them in?
I edit them lightly. Like sometimes, somebody will repeat themselves, so I'll get rid of that. But I edit them very lightly, and many of them not at all. And I receive thousands of letters. And so I think part of it is those letters that are well written end up at the top of the pile, and a lot of writers read therumpus.net. And so I think it's a site where people are really literate and literary. And so a lot of those letters are very eloquent.
So how did you get so smart on life? How do you know the answers to so many things?
The hard way for sure. For sure. Those who have read Wild, for example, my memoir, know that, there are many things that I experienced earlier in my life that were very challenging, many difficult things. And I think that, the way I transformed my own life and overcame many of my struggles, and I still have struggles, the way I grapple with those questions of life are to be really honest, to be as honest as I can be. And I try to bring that kind of vulnerability and honesty to the Dear Sugar column.
And I think you are helping a lot of people change their lives for the
Thank
better.
you.
Thank you, Cheryl, so much for joining us. Well, if you would like more information on Cheryl and how to purchase a copy of her book that you see right there on your screen, please visit CherylStrayed.com. And that will do it for us here at Bay Sunday. Until then, have a great week.